Yeah, morning. Welcome back to the second half of Sunday Supplement, the show where we digest, analyse and debate the sports stories inside the Sunday papers. Plenty more to talk about this morning. With us this morning, sports broadcaster and commentator Jackie Oatley, Riyadh Al Samurai, chief sports feature writer for the Daily Mail, and the Times chief correspondent Martin Samuel.
Sounds surprised.
No, not at all. I'm just reeling after what we were talking about in the break there, but that's a whole other story. Let's talk finally, as promised, about Liverpool's 4-1 victory over Newcastle United at Anfield last night. The Sunday Express goes with X marks the spot. Sorry, Ek marks the spot. Hugo plundered players of goals as Reds come from behind. Jackie, this is almost a case of look at what you could have won for Newcastle United, isn't it? The Sunday Times, Paul Joyce, who was at the game, says, in the end, Newcastle United's regret was not over the one they lost, but the one that got away. Liverpool had always been Ekitike's first choice, despite Newcastle's efforts to lure him from Eintracht Frankfurt for an initial £69 million. It will be of little consolation for Howe that he clearly knows a player. I mean, Newcastle United must look at that and think, if only. We lost Isak as well. We went for Ekitike and we haven't got either of them now.
Yeah, but it's not as if they didn't try. It's not as if they did anything wrong to not get him or didn't rate him or something, and now they've realised, oh, actually, he's a decent player after all. He's clearly a fantastic player. I think if there's any regrets, it might have been with Liverpool and the pursuit of Isak and how that all went, and it's kind of muddied the waters, and he's ended up being injured anyway, but that's another story. I think Hugo Ekitike maybe hasn't had enough credit this season because we've talked about so many issues with Liverpool and some of the negatives and the injury problems they've had and, you know, the bad run, the terrible run that they had earlier in the season. And also seeing here Florian Wirtz, fantastic that he's showing now what he's capable of. That was always maybe going to take a bit of time. But credit to Ekitike, 15 goals and 4 assists in 32 games for Liverpool, 10 goals in 21 Premier League games. And he just looks so calm, so confident. This burst of pace there, that was just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful to watch that. And he just looks as though he's got plenty more of that in the locker. And what a fabulous signing. But in terms of Newcastle, it's not as if they didn't try. It's just that Liverpool's a massive attraction.
Riyadh, Paul Joyce says a cry of champions, champions, champions echoed around Anfield at the full time. The cop will no longer be able to sing that too much longer, but it served to show this was an overdue good night. It was a pulsating game, but did we really see both sides of Liverpool last night? Because for the first half an hour, they could have been in big, big trouble and not just one goal down. Did it show why, yes, they are fighting and fighting hard for a Champions League finish, but also why they've fallen so short, so woefully short in their title defence?
Yeah, I think so. And I think you look at that actual defence, that back line, they're still wide open. They're still vulnerable to any kind of direct play, and I think more than any of the other variables with Liverpool this season, I think it's been that rival teams clocking onto the fact that we can get at them this way. We're going to go long, we're going to go direct, and Slot hasn't really found a solution. It's like, sure, yesterday they've turned it around into a big win, but we're still talking about a side who a week ago lost to Bournemouth. They've put 6 on a fairly dreadful Karabag side, and they've beaten Newcastle, who, let's not be under any illusions, they're in mid-table for a reason. They spent the Isak money on Voltemade and Jan Visser, and I wouldn't say that they would, on balance, be happy with that. But you know, Liverpool have beaten a fairly ordinary team, I would say. But I keep going back to that Bournemouth game. This is a Liverpool side you can't trust. It's been the theme of their entire season.
You mentioned that teams can get at them, and yeah, I guess a lot of criticism has been aimed at one particular defender in Ibrahima Konate. He did return after the death of his father recently, and he returned and scored. So on the flip side, we should give credit where it's due as well, shouldn't we?
No, absolutely. It was clearly, it's understandably it's going to be incredibly traumatic time in his life, and he's come back there, and you could see the emotion for him in scoring that goal, and you've got to be happy for him in that scenario, because let's not forget as well that when there has been this discussion about Liverpool and their vulnerabilities and what did they miss out on by not signing Mark Gahey, Konate has been the target of that. People aren't looking at Van Dijk and saying you're the weak link. They're looking at the guy next to him, and so you know he's been through it. These guys aren't made of iron, you know, and he's had that awful sort of personal scenario to go through. So, you know, good for him. Good on him that he's had that moment yesterday. That was nice, and you could see what it meant to him.
Martin, this summer, clearly it's going to be a very, very busy transfer window. But rather like this transfer window, it could be dominated by managerial changes again. Mm-hmm. Could we see a managerial change at Manchester United, even at Manchester City? Crystal Palace clearly are not going to be having Oliver Glasner there. Mm. But the two men in situ at Anfield last night, in Arne Slot and Eddie Howe, is there a world where both of those clubs could be looking at a new manager next season?
I'm not so sure about Arne Slot, because I think winning the league in your first season at Liverpool does mean something, and I would expect him to be given more time. Eddie Howe, maybe. I mean, if the England job became available, you don't know if Eddie would be offered that. I think he should be offered that, but you don't know whether he would be. And you wonder whether at some stage the project will want something more from the manager. It's possible. I don't think either of them are doing a bad job, really. I mean, I think Arne Slot, you know, it's a strange thing, because spending all that money in the summer, it is hard to manage that upheaval in your team and to change the way your team is playing in the way that he has had to this year. Eddie Howe, we all know the limitations on Newcastle. It's the richest club in the world that has to behave, you know, like they're Newcastle, basically, you know, and that's a very strange thing. They get beaten by Liverpool to their best player. They get beaten by Liverpool to their biggest transfer target. So I've got an enormous amount of sympathy for both of those guys. And I don't think either of them deserve to lose their job in the summer. Eddie Howe, you know, what could happen with England, that wouldn't be losing your job.
Vinny, will they go in for another defender given the news, albeit we don't know how long Frimpong will be out for?
I'm not going to hold my breath on that one, Will. I was told this morning that Liverpool's position on transfers in this current window remains unchanged and remains pretty straightforward as well. The fact is they're always alert to opportunities, but as things stand, the likelihood is there will be no incomings, and it's very rare for Liverpool to make stopgap signings as well. I can think of two in kind of recent years, going back to 2016 when Stephen Colker was brought in on loan from QPR. He made 3 substitute appearances for Liverpool in the Premier League. I think at one point he was playing as an emergency striker rather than a centre-half as well. In 2021, of course, they signed Ben Davis from Preston North End as well. He didn't play a game for Liverpool, but they were emergency measures as Liverpool were looking for cover at the back at that stage. Now, what they're waiting for at the moment is a diagnosis and prognosis on the injury Jeremy Frimpong suffered last night. They are getting Ibrahima Konate back, of course, from compassionate leave. Arne Slot hinted at that last night. He could even be back for the weekend against Newcastle. But you look at those injury problems that they do have at the back. Frimpong, at the moment, we know that Conor Bradley is out for the rest of the season, as is Giovanni Leone as well. Joe Gomez shouldn't be too far away from coming back either from the hip injury that he suffered against Bournemouth. And I think Arne Slot still feels that they have cover in those areas as well. We saw Endo playing at right back last night, for instance, as well. Curtis Jones and Dominic Szoboszlai can play in that role. We've seen Ryan Gravenberch last night drop into centre-half as well. So Liverpool feel that they have cover in those areas. They can muddle through to the end of the season, if you like, unless, of course, one of their long-term targets becomes available. And at the moment, that's looking unlikely.
Vinny, Andy Robertson, still a Liverpool player. Do you expect that to change come Monday?
I'm expecting it to stay the same. Again, Arne Slot told us that before the Champions League encounter last night as well, in that pre-match news conference that he held before Karabakh, that he expects Andy Robertson to stay. And the reasoning is clear. And I go back to the days when Jurgen Klopp was here as well. The fact that Liverpool will do what's right for the player, but ultimately what's right for the team as well. And it makes no sense at this juncture for Liverpool to lessen their defensive options, and that would be Andy Robertson going with that injury situation as well. It would certainly lessen the options that Arne Slot has back there. I mean, you could also imagine Andy Robertson being able to fill in at right back as an emergency measure if needed. We've seen him fill in at centre half, as left-sided centre half in the past as well. We know obviously there was talk with Spurs over at a £5 million deal for Andy Robertson, and we know obviously that Spurs would like to get that deal done and bring in someone of the experience of Andy Robertson, but Liverpool obviously don't have cover for Andy Robertson. They did look at bringing Kostas Tsimikas back from his loan spell at Roma, but Roma themselves would want cover in that area as well. So at the moment, Andy Robertson is going nowhere. To say yes, they will look at what's in the best interest of the player, but ultimately it's what is in the best interest of the team as well. And I mentioned Jurgen Klopp at the start of that. Of course, it's nice to see that he's going to be back here at Anfield on March the 28th, back in the Liverpool dugout as assistant to Kenny Dalglish for the Legends game against Borussia Dortmund. If tickets were getting snapped up quickly, I think they'll be going even quicker now to welcome him back.
Oh, absolutely. Vinny, thank you very much.
Let's get back to Liverpool boss Arne Slot. He's just been speaking to the media. We can hear from him now. He's talking to our reporter Vinny O'Connor.
First of all, are there any timescale on Jeremy Frimpong? What's the extent of his injury?
I will definitely not be in the squad tomorrow, so he's out for a few weeks, but not as bad as we thought he would be out. So something positive from something not so positive.
And we'll check on Ibu as well. Is he back with you?
Ibu trained with us yesterday, so trains with us today, and will be in the squad tomorrow.
Obviously, there's been a lot of talk around potential incomings, or you trying to add to your squad in this window. So probably for the last time this month, what chance do you see of bringing in a long-term target in this transfer window?
You promised me you're not going to ask it post-match.
That's yeah. Okay. I won't be asking that after the game.
Yeah, I think you know the answer. The answer is that if we think we've addressed a player that can help us, and we think it's possible, then we would do so. But those are conversations that take place not far away from here, by the way, but not in this room.
So it's looking unlikely still.
Why is it looking unlikely?
It's looking unlikely, is it? Still?
Okay, that's a smart way of asking it. I think I gave the answer I gave, but it's up to you if that means it's unlikely or it's likely. Yeah,
well, I'm just thinking I'm going to have a very quiet day here on Monday.
Okay, it could be. You want to play golf?
Yeah, I would love to, yeah. We'll get down to Wallison. Looking at the game itself, though, how do you assess now the challenge you've got of finishing in the top four, and how crucial is this game to those hopes as well, given Newcastle are just 3 points behind?
Yeah, I think that's throughout the whole season. Every single game is crucial, but the way we've positioned ourselves now makes probably every game even more crucial. Because that's definitely what we want to achieve. Then it is a crucial game, as the next one is a crucial one, as the next one is a crucial one as well. And we've experienced how tough it is to play against Newcastle in the 1.5 year I'm here now. It's always been a very tough contest, very tough game for us, but for them as well. So yeah, great game to look forward to, because we both had a good result during the week. And a home game at Anfield is always something to look forward to.
Thanks, Alan.
Hello again. Just in terms of that result as well, good win, great performance on top of that. Does it give everyone a bit of a lift, or a bigger lift around here? Did they need a lift at the moment, given the start in the Premier League to the year?
No, I prefer to win it than losing that game. So that is always helping. Every game you win helps in the first place, because we qualified for the last 16. Second of all, because it was a good win with some good performances, players scoring goals, and that's always helpful. But we are fully aware of the fact that one win isn't enough at this club. So the next one is coming fast with Newcastle. And I think that's I'm 100% sure that game is a bigger challenge than the one we faced Wednesday. But always helpful to win, especially if we've lost in the last minute at Bournemouth. Then it's always nice to have a better feeling during the week.
And I know that Vinny asked you a couple about players as well. I'm just wondering about Joe and Curtis. Might they be available?
Yeah, Curtis is again available. He was sick, as I said, but he is available. And Joe will not be available, but that doesn't have to take much longer anymore. But he will not be available for the weekend.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Hi, Arne. Mo Salah got his first goal in 9 Liverpool games last time out. I just wonder if you think he's in a good position to rediscover some of his best form like we saw last season.
I think it's always about the team, and the team has to make sure he gets in good positions, and I think that's what we are doing more and more, not only with him but with many players. I think I've said this recently quite a lot. Our game in between boxes is good enough for our attackers to be often enough in promising positions, and we know that if this happens enough times, then our players will do what we expect of them because they have so much quality. I think you were talking about Mo, but a great example might also be Florian, who was 3 minutes before the end against Bournemouth in exactly the same position as he was when he scored the 2-0. But in Bournemouth he decided to play a through pass. Now he went for his own chance and scored. This is how football works. Sometimes the ball hits the post, the ball hits the bar. Sometimes you make the wrong decision. Sometimes the execution is not perfect. But I was really pleased and happy for Mo that he scored that goal, because I think no matter how much he has scored for this club, it's always good to be on a score sheet, as it was for Federico as well, and for Florian. That always gives a bit of confidence to the team, but also to individuals.